On today's episode, I'm going to continue the theme of this short series around puberty with boys, and I'm going to teach you something today called parallel co-regulation. Let's dive in. Parallel co-regulation is similar to parallel play, which is something we talk about with toddlers, meaning they are playing near or next to each other, or they're playing around, let's say, some group kind of collective unifying activity, like a game or a puzzle, but they're not directly interacting face to face. This is important for teenagers, and you can apply this to both sexes, but again, I'm focusing on boys because that's what my webinar and that's what this current series is about, from a lot of questions from single parents, in particular single mothers, asking questions about raising boys. There is a certain age, a lot of you will notice with your teenagers in general, boys and girls, where they start to pull away from you and they get more isolated. Now, I do believe this is more of a modern phenomenon. I think historically, children were way more integrated into the societal and family roles around certain responsibilities and the ways they contributed and had certain tasks that we would now think as adult tasks. I believe they were just family tasks. I mean, consider kids that grew up on farms or that grew up with parents who owned stores. They were working in these shops and they were working on these farms, as early as possible, really, to keep it running and to help the family make money. Some kids didn't even go to school. So there wasn't such a divide between parents and children, meaning children didn't spend hours and hours isolating in their room watching television or playing video games or watching porn or social media. They were integrated with the family. And there's something very important about that integration that we start to lose when our children go into the pubescent years. Now, one of the reasons with boys, and I've highlighted this in one of my past conversations here, is they will start to self-soothe through porn use because one of the primary effects, and again, everyone's different, but let's say on average, one of the primary effects for boys is they lose access to their emotions as testosterone increases. Now, this is something over time that will change if they work on themselves and they have the resources and the tools to do so. But a lot of boys will notice they go into this period where they suddenly can't access their feelings. They can't cry anymore. They can't feel the way they used to. And in addition to that, they're actually overwhelmed and they feel shut down by emotion. This is why when you think of the avoidant attachment type, a lot of men tend to be more avoidant than women. And again, this is because of the biochemistry of testosterone, how it affects us emotionally and mentally, but also how our development plays out. If we started learning that we could isolate whenever we feel uncomfortable, we don't actually learn how to be with people in moments of discomfort. And the biggest mistake a lot of parents make, and I said made because I'm thinking of the mistakes I've made with my daughter, is we try to directly connect with a child who's overwhelmed. So we assume that if we just kind of look them in the eyes and speak to them directly, somehow that will break their isolation. But what actually ends up happening is it increases their desire to isolate because it increases their overwhelm. And a pubescent body is a very, very hormonally, biochemically overwhelmed body. There's a lot happening in that biology. The liver is working overtime, the heart, the lungs, the thyroid, the brain, everything is working overtime because of this transformation that's happening. Not just, like I said before, with the sexual organs and sex hormones, but with bones and tissues and muscle and hair growth, changing the voice, changing how you look. So many things shift, and this creates a lot of internal stress just for the body through these shifting years. So these little boys' bodies that are going through puberty are already quite overwhelmed from the testosterone, which also inherently reduces their ability to feel and express emotion. So you have lots of overwhelm met with the inability to feel and express and embody emotion the way you might have before you started having higher levels of testosterone being produced in male puberty. That is a recipe for serious shutdown for any human being, right? Increase in sensation with a decrease of capacity for sensation, that will usually result in a freeze response or a collapse response. So this isolation that boys tend to do as teenagers, where they go into the room and, like I said, they use porn to feel better, they get lost in social media, they're playing video games, they're not just practicing these individual self-soothing techniques, they're practicing isolation in response to something big. So, as parents, we have one major responsibility, and that's to interrupt their isolating habits. There are different ways we can do this. I'll be going into this way more deeply in the webinar. But one that I'm going to highlight today is what I call parallel co-regulation. Now, it's different from what's already termed parallel co-regulation in psychological terms, which is just simply this kind of reciprocal ease or bond between two people or a few people. I'm using parallel co-regulation the same way we use parallel play as a term for toddlers. Parallel play is a term for toddlers that simply means we have two kids kind of doing their own thing together. So one might be reading, one might be drawing, they're doing it together. So they're still connecting and bonding and finding settling in the room with somebody else, but they're not directly taking each other in, which is really helpful developmentally when taking someone in is too overwhelming. So we want to think of our teenagers the same way. In particular, like I'm talking about teenage boys, especially autistic teenage boys, they're going to be even more overwhelmed, with eye contact, with sensation, with emotion, with being confronted with big topics and ideas, being confronted with the parents' emotions even. That's going to shut them down or even put them into rage depending on where they are in their bodies. So, parallel co regulation is one of my favorite ways for parents to start interrupting the isolation cycle. And it's very simple. You just do things in the same room together. You don't even have to make it a thing. It doesn't have to be like, hey, let's have some parallel playtime. Nothing. It can just be, hey, can you come out and do the dishes while I cook? And he's doing the dishes while you start cooking dinner. Or, hey, can you help me tend to the garden? Or let's go walk to the store together and get some stuff. You pick out the snacks you want, I'm going to pick out stuff for dinner. You just start making it part of your culture each day with your son to have parallel time together. Where you're not directly talking about school, you're not directly talking about puberty, you're not directly asking him of anything in particular. You're just doing life together. The more you do that, the more his body will pick up on yours, and you'll start finding a bond, an ease, a co-regulation happen in a way that's not super direct, like you might have been able to do before puberty, like hugs or holding hands or cuddling or talking to him about something. A really difficult thing for parents of young boys is you suddenly lose access to the affection you might have had before. And we want to allow that because that's healthy in his development to not want to have affection with a parent, especially when his body is becoming sexual and he's getting unwanted erections. And there's a lot going on, especially the compartmentalization that occurs with porn use. There's a lot of shame and guilt and confusion with that for a lot of young boys. So there's a lot he's holding in his body that might keep him from wanting to be affectionate with you, especially if you're his mother. He may feel very awkward being affectionate with a woman at this time, regardless of his sexuality rather. So I'm saying all this because let him be awkward. Let him not want to talk very much. Let him not want to make eye contact or have direct statements or answers about his day or his development or what he's going through or who he's dating or how he's feeling. And instead, invite parallel co-regulation all through the day. We want to introduce this in ways that are just simple, transitional, transactional activities. We're done eating dinner. Let's clean up the kitchen together, right? It's time to clean the house. You do the living room. I'll do the dining room. We need to go to the store. Let's drive together and get stuff. You bring him into your world. You give him some responsibilities and you do them together. Whether you talk or you do it in silence doesn't matter. The only rule I have is no headphones allowed. He can't be in his headphones or he's going to be cutting you off again. And you, as a parent, also can't be in your headphones or looking at your phone. This needs to be a non-screen time where it's just you two working on some kind of activity together. And it can evolve into things that are much more bonding. It can evolve into let's do a puzzle. It can even evolve into let's watch a movie or play a video game together. So you're even taking his isolation tactics of using a screen, but you're bringing it into the living room, into a communal space of the whole family. This consistent interruption of his uh, desire and habit to isolate is life changing, especially the younger you start this, because he hasn't developed the habit of doing it and the dependency on the soothing of being left alone to his own devices. So the more you can interrupt that, the better. And I have worked with many parents with this technique, and it is incredible how things can start to shift. One thing I'll add before I close is when you have a child who is addicted to technology, whether it's porn or social media or certain ideologies you don't agree with, whatever it is, if you find there's a dependence and an addiction to the screen, the best thing you can do is have a computer that's in the common area of the house and they can use that at specific times versus having a phone or a computer in their room where they can just get lost and escape into any dimension they want to at a pretty young age. It astounds me that we allow our 12, 13, 14-year-olds to just navigate the internet and social media openly. There's a lot there that you wouldn't even let them do in person, but taking it in can be just as overwhelming to their body as if they're actually there experiencing it. So try this out. See how it resonates in your body. See how simple it can be. I'm talking like 10, 15 minutes throughout the day, just different moments of getting more of this connection, more of this communal, collective, parallel co-regulation with the whole family or just with you as the parent and your son. And if it's been many, many years where he's been isolating, it's going to take a little more time. You're going to notice some crankiness. Kids go through withdrawal when they have to get away from being isolated because they have to feel. So let the crankiness be part of it. Let there be some difficulty. Let there be grumpiness. As long as there isn't blatant disrespect or violence or aggression or direct rudeness, let them have their humanity of not fully enjoying this moment. And your job as the parent is to stay in your body and enjoy it for yourself so they have someone to attune to. Thank you for watching today's episode. Please like and subscribe if you found it useful, and let me know in the comments what you want me to cover next. I have developed a 4-week self-paced course that takes 18 years of my personal and professional experience and puts it into one place where you can easily and quickly learn the foundations of recovering from stress and trauma. How does the food you eat affect your stress levels? How do the relationships in your life create stress or peace? How does the relationship you have with your body allow you to feel happier and more settled? I will cover all this and so much more in this 4-week self-paced course. And the best part, it's self-paced. You don't have to sign up at a certain date or finish it at a certain time. It's yours for life, and it's waiting there for you when you're ready to finish it. Throughout this course, I'll be teaching you philosophies and practices that combine my 3 favorite modalities: somatic experiencing, embodied parts work, and nutrition. For more information on this course, click on the link in my episode details.